They laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a polite laugh, a confident laugh, the kind of laugh that echoes in empty hallways, the kind that says, "It's over for you." They laughed too early. They saw you stumble and thought it was the end of your story. They saw you bleeding and assumed you were dying. They saw your silence and mistook it for surrender. But what they didn't understand, what they couldn't understand, is that you were not collapsing. You were transforming. And transformation is never pretty at the beginning. It looks like chaos. It sounds like silence. It feels like loss. They thought they were watching your downfall. In reality, they were witnessing your rebirth. They expected you to beg. They expected you to chase. They expected you to break down, to explain yourself, to defend your name, to prove your worth to people who had already decided to misunderstand you. They expected tears to drown you. They expected the weight to crush you. They expected you to shrink, and maybe, for a moment, you did. Maybe there were nights when the ceiling felt like it was pressing down on your chest. Maybe there were mornings when getting out of bed felt like lifting a mountain. Maybe you questioned yourself. Maybe you wondered if they were right. Maybe their laughter echoed in your mind. But here's what they didn't see. They didn't see the fire quietly building inside you. They didn't see the discipline forming in the dark. They didn't see you studying your pain like a blueprint. They thought you were falling apart. But you were studying the pieces. You were learning. You were watching. You were evolving. While they celebrated your silence, you were sharpening your mind. While they mocked your setback, you were mastering your emotions. While they laughed too early, you were preparing too quietly. And silence. Silence is dangerous when it belongs to someone who refuses to quit. There's something powerful about being underestimated. It gives you space. Space to grow without pressure. Space to fail without eyes watching. Space to build without noise. They thought your quiet meant weakness. But your quiet was construction. Brick by brick, habit by habit, choice by choice. You were rebuilding yourself from the inside out. You stopped arguing. You stopped proving. You stopped explaining. And you started becoming. You became disciplined when no one was clapping. You became focused when no one believed. You became relentless when they thought you were done. Pain became your teacher. Rejection became your redirection. Loneliness became your training ground. You learned to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. You learned that not every loss is a tragedy. Some losses are protection. Some betrayals are blessings in disguise. They thought they had isolated you, but isolation introduced you to yourself, and that's when everything changed. Because once you meet yourself, truly meet yourself, you become unstoppable. Did they really think you would stay broken? Did they think one betrayal would erase your potential? Did they think their opinions were powerful enough to rewrite your destiny? They miscalculated. They assumed your strength was loud. They assumed power had to shout. They assumed resilience had to look like revenge, but your strength was patient. And patience terrifies people who expect immediate collapse. They started noticing small changes. You weren't reacting the same. You weren't chasing the same validation. You weren't trying to fit into spaces that rejected you. You were glowing differently, not with arrogance, not with bitterness, but with calm certainty. And that calm, it confused them because they wanted chaos. They wanted drama. They wanted to see you desperate. Instead, they saw you detached. Instead, they saw you focused. Instead, they saw you rising. And nothing unsettles doubters more than quiet progress. They laughed when you fell, but they stopped laughing when you stopped caring. There's a moment in every comeback story where the shift happens. It's subtle. It's internal. It's the moment you decide, enough. Not enough anger. Not enough revenge. Enough self-doubt. You looked at your reflection one day and realized you survived everything they thought would destroy you. You survived the betrayal. You survived the humiliation. You survived the silence. And you didn't just survive. You grew sharper. Your mind became clearer. Your standards became higher. You stopped accepting breadcrumbs. You stopped tolerating disrespect disguised as jokes. You stopped shrinking to make insecure people comfortable. They laughed too early because the version of you they mocked, that version is gone, burned in the fire of experience, reforged in discipline, polished by adversity. You are not the same person who once needed their approval, and that terrifies them. They start watching you now, not openly, quietly. They check your progress, they analyze your moves, they whisper your name in rooms you're not in, because now they see it, the strength, the confidence, the independence. You no longer seek validation from people who couldn't see your value. You no longer explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You move differently, you speak less, you execute more, and your results speak with thunder. The same people who laughed now look confused. How did you do it? When did you change? Who do you think you are now? But the real question is, who did they think you were? Did they think you were defined by one mistake, one failure, one loss? You are not a moment, you are momentum. And momentum cannot be stopped by mockery. Let's be honest. Their laughter hurt. It cut deep. It made you question your path. But pain has a strange way of revealing truth. It shows you who celebrates your struggle. It shows you who enjoys your weakness. It shows you who never truly believed in you. And once you see that truth, you can never unsee it. That awareness changed you. You stopped trusting words and started observing actions. You stopped investing energy in people who drained you. You started protecting your peace like it was sacred, because it is. Peace is power. Indifference is power. Growth is power. And nothing is more powerful than someone who no longer needs to prove themselves. They expected revenge. They expected you to come back loud. But your greatest revenge, your glow up, your discipline, your silence, your success, they laughed too early because they didn't understand that storms create stronger trees. And you were built in a hurricane. There's another level to this transformation. It's not just external success, it's internal mastery. You learn to control your emotions when provoked. You learn to walk away when disrespected. You learned that not every battle deserves your energy. That's growth, that's evolution, that's power. You no longer react impulsively. You respond strategically. You no longer fear loss. You welcome alignment. You no longer chase attention. You attract respect. And the irony? The louder they laughed at your lowest point, the quieter they become at your highest. Because deep down, they know. They underestimated you. They misjudged your resilience. They thought you were fragile, but you were flexible. And flexible things don't break. They bend and come back stronger. You turned pain into fuel. You turned rejection into redirection. You turned silence into strategy. And now you walk into rooms with a presence that doesn't beg to be seen. It commands attention without demanding it. That is evolution. They may never admit it. Pride is heavy. Ego is stubborn. But they feel it. They feel the shift. They feel the distance. They feel the power dynamic changing. Once you sought their approval. Now they seek your acknowledgement. Once you explained yourself. Now you owe no explanations. Once you feared losing them. Now you fear losing yourself. And that fear keeps you sharp. You understand something now that you didn't before. Not everyone who laughs at you is stronger than you. Sometimes they laugh because they're afraid. Afraid that you'll rise. Afraid that you'll outgrow them. Afraid that your success will expose their mediocrity. And you did rise. You did outgrow them. You did expose the gap. They laughed too early because they didn't realize you were just getting started. Here's the truth you've earned. You don't need their apology. You don't need their recognition. You don't need their validation. Your growth is proof. Your discipline is proof. Your peace is proof. You've become someone who can stand alone without feeling lonely. Someone who can lose people without losing direction. Someone who can fail without losing identity. That's strength, not the loud kind, the lasting kind, the kind that doesn't shake when tested, the kind that smiles calmly when doubted, the kind that keeps building even when nobody claps. They laughed too early because they judged your chapter 2 as if it was your conclusion. But you're still writing, still rising, still evolving. And the best part? You're no longer doing it to prove them wrong. You're doing it to prove yourself right.